The truth has arrived.
My name is Jonathan Gilliam, and this is The Experts. And it's a happy Friday. I guess it's a happy Friday. It's hard to tell what really is happy anymore in this country. I'm telling you, 2020 is, we're now in December of 2020. I'm thinking back on December of 2019. What a different world it was. The amount of hope that was in this nation then versus now, it's pretty remarkable how low we have come. And, I went through, as I always do, it's right now 4:43 a.m. I've been sitting here all night going through the news, going through different websites. And it's one of those days where there's breaking news about moving around this, they call them suitcases. They look like pelican cases full of ballots in Georgia when everybody else is told to go home. If you haven't seen those videos, you can look on Fox News. This is what's interesting. This is where I'm going with this, okay? Fox News is the only one, really. I'm sure there's other conservative, non-mainstream media platforms that have it up, but of the mainstream media platforms, Fox News is the only one that is reporting. I guess you can call Newsmax mainstream media now, and I was on Newsmax today. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but most of the mainstream media, let me just put it that way, is not covering that story at all. You see nothing. I was looking at all this stuff about these. I mean, there's so many irregularities when it comes to this voting, and a great amount of this is going on in Georgia. It happened in Pennsylvania as well. It happened in Nevada. They were literally paying people on an Indian reservation to come and vote, which is illegal. Okay, you can't bribe people for a vote. You can't say, come on down because we're going to auction off gift cards for $100. I mean, you can't do that. You're literally offering a bribe to come down of monetary value. That was one thing. They found in multiple locations that it's not just that dead people voted, which it happens, that's historical in voting, and I don't know why that is, because all you have to do is have an ID of who you are and check that with a registry of, if cops can look at you with their system and tell whether or not you're alive or not and who you are when they look at your ID, well, why in the world can't you have that for voting? You see how important this is now, okay? So as I'm sitting there going through all this stuff, trying to figure out what I'm going to do the show about, again, I've done this before where I come up and I'm like, man, the news is the story. Not the news, not the news stories. The news is the story. And the lack of hope in this country, and as I was saying about the dead people voting, I kind of got off that. It goes right along with this. It wasn't just that dead people voted, it's that they voted multiple times. And in some cases, people went and voted multiple times, all for Biden, to the extent of we're talking over 40,000 people in one location, and they voted 3 times. Do you think about that? That is enough to turn an election by far. These ballots that were under these tables where they took these out in Georgia after they sent everybody home, pulled these out and started counting them. And they could do about 3,000 votes per hour. And I think they said there were 5 people left in there. That can sway an election. That can totally sway an election. So when I look at the news and I see how it's reported, I see on Fox News that they're reporting this. And listen, Fox News is done. They're done. They would have to completely revamp where they're going and get rid of the Murdochs in order to save it. See, here's the difference between what Fox was and what Fox is now, is Roger Ailes. They can say whatever they want about Roger Ailes, but he was not really paranoid now. Doesn't seem that way now, does it? All the things that you've seen, all these shows where the leftists that made these documentaries about Fox News, They made him look like a complete pervert, in which he may have been. I don't know. He never hit on me. But the fact was that his paranoia was not paranoia at all. He understood what the threat to this nation was. And when he left, Fox News and the Murdoch brothers took over. I mean, it became fake news. Before it was a game, Roger Ailes knew entertainment in news, and that's why he hired the people that he did, and that's why it was interesting, and it was entertaining to watch Fox News. Not just that you were getting the perspective, which it used to be, unbiased. And yes, the evening shows had a conservative slant, but it was an unbiased news reporting network. Now, it really, they're placating both sides, and it's fake. Everything's fake on there. There's no entertainment value. And by and large, sometimes they get it right, like they have today. But that's by the nature. It's not that the Murdochs care or believe in anything that we're worried about. It's that they know that they're going to keep that fringe element of conservatives watching Fox News. So let's just put Fox News in that category for now. And Newsmax is a conservative and network, and others, OAN, and they were reporting on these irregularities. Nothing. I'm not talking about a slant in the stories on CNN or MSNBC or the Drudge Report. I'm not talking about that they slanted it liberal. They don't even report it. Not even reporting it at all. And so when I look at all these things that are occurring and the depression that's going on in this nation, I talked to a gentleman on Twitter tonight who is in Seattle, and he's a restaurant owner. They're desperate. They're desperate out there, not only because they're killing their business, which isn't just in Seattle, it's all over the place, wherever Democrats are at. It's not just that they're killing his business, but that he's very concerned with this nation. And he brought up a great point, and this goes right along with that. If people start to do now what they should do, and I wrote a tweet tonight. It says the rise of tyranny over the past 30 years is exactly why our nation's founding fathers wrote the Second Amendment. Yet the unwillingness of the people to put country before comfort, to stand together and take action, is exactly opposite of how it was intended to be used. After I was talking to this gentleman who's this restaurant owner in Seattle, and I talked to several other people who responded to that tweet, they're all concerned with taking action, and rightfully so. Because the Second Amendment, we know that it's not just for hunting. It's about protecting yourself and the rest of your rights and the freedom in this country and the nation from enemies inside the country. We're in a position, and many people know it, where if you do that, it's like being in the military. They ask for volunteers and everybody steps back and you're left standing there. Or you volunteer thinking that everybody's like, okay, we'll all step forward, and nobody else steps forward and you're by yourself. Action beats reaction, and inaction is no action at all. And the problem is that over the past 30 years, and I really do say it's really 31 years, because the beginning of George Bush 41 is when the country really started to move quickly towards a leftist nature in politics. 9/11 speeded it all up. Bill Clinton put it in overdrive. George Bush Jr., 43, didn't do a damn thing to stop any of this. Many of the people that worked for Bill Clinton worked for George Bush. And I'm not talking about who he appointed, but who was at the top, these senior executive service levels. He left. Obama comes in. And then when we finally get a president who's worth a damn, the leftists are so entrenched in government that this president can't even do anything. I mean, he did a lot when you think about it. The fact that he was being attacked on a daily basis, not just by media, but by the government. I mean, think about that. And when I listen to the news, which I did tonight, and I read these things and I see what they're not reporting, they don't care, and how they go after this president, it's a wonder that guy even wants to run again. I mean, literally, he should be saying, listen, you all step up to the plate. You all fix it. That's a great man that even considered to run again, especially after all of the stuff that he has to go through on a daily basis, not just him, but his family as well. And when I look at the news and the way that it's reported and the very fact that it is, I just was sitting there tonight and I was reading and watching on television, and it overwhelmed me, especially after talking to these incredible Americans on Twitter who were concerned and worried that they can't take action. It all of a sudden just dawned on me, not that I didn't know this before, not that you don't know this, but it really did hit me like a ton of bricks tonight. How bad of a predicament that we are in this nation. Now, I've known that for a long time. That's why I work so hard. But we are in such a bad position right now. We're in such bad shape that the Democrats are literally sitting back and watching the conservatives, the patriots, the constitutionalists devour themselves. Completely devour themselves. They just throw a little bit of gunpowder on the fire every now and then and just spark up a new flame. There's no unity. You have, this stage again that I talked about yesterday where these people are on stage with a felon and a kid that's 18 years old, never done anything. Next to him is a felon. Next to him is Sidney Powell. I don't know who the other guys. There was a photographer that goes everywhere that Ali goes. Next to him is, I don't know, some politician from down there. And then you have Lynn Wood walking around with a microphone. They all took turns talking. Who are these people? Who are these people to be telling you in Georgia not to go vote, right? I hashed that out yesterday. But the vile nature of the people on social media that call themselves patriots, and because somebody calls out these people for who they are and what they're doing and how the game has been played before. I said today on Newsmax it was South America. It was actually in Trinidad. I think it was Trinidad. It was over in Africa is where this was, where they did the no-do campaigns, like no show, no do, don't go out and vote. They did this already. Steve Bannon was in with Cambridge Analytica, did this already. I talked about it yesterday. But when I look at the vileness of the responses to the truth tellers, myself, several other people who came out and have said these things, and how they're like, what have you done? You've never done anything. Lynn Wood is a hero. Lynn Wood is a Democrat, okay? Ali is a hero. Ali is a felon who tried to get people to do campaign fraud, election fraud back with John McCain's campaign. He's no experience in anything except for bullshitting. He's a hero. Who are you? F you. They say these things like that. Now, I don't really care. I said that yesterday. I don't really care. But it dawned on me how divided the Patriots are, how everybody's competing. They all compete. They have these different groups that, they're going to have a rally over here. Or they're going to have a rally over there. And they don't talk to each other. They don't like each other. They don't talk. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. And the problem is everybody's vying for position. For what? And it just dawned on me while I sat there, and it washed over me, even though I knew it before. I don't know if we're going to make it back from this. And when I watch the news and I see this stuff online of how controlled the narrative is, it really did dawn on me that the only way, and I'm going to say it here right now, the only way for this to ever be fixed is if this nation goes to war against itself. There is no other way. Washington, D.C., listen, I love this nation. I do not want to see this nation go down into the socialist toilet, the globalist toilet. I don't want to see this nation have to come to a civil war, and it will not be North and South. It will be neighbor against neighbor. It will be police officers having to decide whether or not they're going to pull their gun out and go against people who are patriots or not, or whether they're going to stand with those people to fight against tyranny, or whether they're going to capitulate and serve a tyrannical governor like here in New York or in other places. I don't want to see that. But let's be real, okay? This is my podcast. I'm going to say it like I see it, and I have a lot of experience to make this analysis. I've looked at history, and history is screaming, and it's saying that you have waited too long. You have waited too long for the American people, which the founding fathers intended, for us to get up and act when tyranny even approached. It was our duty to get up and stop it. And we did not. We did not stop it. The American people failed to put country before comfort. They failed to unify. The only ones that are unified in this country are small groups of people that are conservative, that are concerned about what's happening, and a massive amount of leftists. And that's it. There's probably more people in this country that are weirdos that belong to cults than there are conservatives who stand together. So again, as I looked at all this stuff and it washed over me, I finally realized, I say that I realized, I knew that before. I realized it before, but it just became a reality that it's now inescapable. I hope I'm wrong, but my analysis says that I'm not. This is not an assumption. I'm not assuming based on my opinion or based on what I want to happen. I'm not trying to put people out there and make this person a villain and that person a hero. I don't make politicians or personalities or especially attorneys. By the way, Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell are both attorneys, okay? So that right there should cause you a pause. But I do not put people on a pedestal and worship them. No man will ever be worthy of me worshiping them. Only one man that walked this earth, and he was half God, the God, and half man, and never sinned. Jesus. I will worship him. I will worship no human being other than him. With that being said, what is happening and what is occurring, and the way people have put these individuals on pedestals as though they were going to solve something, or they follow some group telling them that there's a plan so they won't act. It's the nation has become exactly what the founding fathers didn't. It's opposite of what they intended. They did not intend for the nation to be populated by sheep. And you can say whatever you want, folks. Oh, no, the left are sheep. And you can say on the left, you can say, no, those people on the right are crazy. The fact is, you all follow what you're told to do, and you're too afraid to act on it. Listen, I'll give credit to these people on the left, the evil, possessed, or influenced, demonic influenced Antifa and Black Lives Matter. While we've been rallying, the patriots have been patting themselves on the back. They've actually been carrying out operations in all these cities and not getting arrested in many cases. Some cases they do, but in many cases they're not. And they're pushing back. And they're pushing tyranny into mainstream, taking over media, coordinated the echo chamber. On the right, we've done nothing. And listen, even that group on the left is only capable of doing so much unless the sheep on the left mass up and support them and allow them to do it. and back them financially and give them a voice. On the right, you have a church congregation of 10,000 people or 1,000 people or 500. You can't even get them to come out and stand together for the right reasons. We don't even know what the truth is about COVID. It's very suspicious to me when I watch the media and all the leftist media, all they talk about is COVID. They're making it sound as though the hospitals are overran, that they're just exploding with COVID. But that's a manipulation of what actually is the truth. There are people who are going to the hospital for COVID. There are people dying of COVID. But there's a tremendous amount of people that are now going to the hospital because they have a fever or because they have the sniffles. And they're being put into the hospital because the hospitals get paid for COVID patients. So they may put them in there and say they're COVID suspect, and they're going to get paid for that. And I didn't want to believe that for the longest time, but it's true. So you can't watch TV and determine what's real and what's not. You can't determine by what is being reported that the deaths that are occurring in this nation are even caused by COVID. You cannot trust anything that the government says, any government, federal, state, or local. And so here we are on the verge of a civil war in this nation, which I think is inescapable. It's either we have a civil war or the nation is going to fall to the socialist side. And I don't see any other choice besides those two. Well, let's have hope. And no, it's done. Hope is not there anymore. You know why I say hope is not there? I watched some stupid commercial tonight, and they're like, hope is never ending. Hope is ending. You can't lose hope. If you continue to have faith, and that's one thing I do have is faith in God, that he'll point us in the right direction, that if this nation is to go through, however many years of being oppressed, it's because, we allowed it to happen and God allowed it to happen. So maybe we'll wake up. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But when I look at what's happening and I see the state of affairs that we're in, I can't think that there's anything but those two choices, that we either go through a civil war or we just give up and be oppressed. They're not going to work it out in Washington, D.C. They may do something to make it last a little bit longer, but I've never seen leftists chomping at the bit for January like they are now. And if you think they're going to go slow when they get in office, especially if they win the Senate, the only thing that's going to slow it down at all is going to be the Supreme Court. And you can't trust half of them. You can't trust John Roberts. You don't even know if you can trust them, period. Even the people that are very conservative, you don't know. You don't know them. Just like you don't know Lynn Wood. You don't know them. And if you look at the history of the Supreme Court, they're very political. In fact, I thought that was one of the dumbest things I've heard is several of these people who I supported to be confirmed, but the words that come out of their mouth, well, justices are supposed to be impartial. Well, yeah, but you're not. So I don't want to continue to harp on this and make this sound like it's there's a doom and gloom episode, but you should realize what I realize, and it should wash over you. I'm telling you right now, take this at face value. There is no hope for a political solution. There is no hope that things are just going to get better. It's not. Now, COVID, once the Democrats get in office, they may start to push that back, or they may press it harder. Hell, there may be another 2-3 more viruses as far as if they wish to make that lie present. Biden's cabinet is going to be just like Obama's. It's going to be filled with people who are either in the media or they are married to people who run media and Silicon Valley. So there is no hope for a political solution. And I want you to realize that. And I want you to start to prepare your mind for that. Because you're going to have to decide what you are going to do, and you need to go ahead and decide that now. You know, I wrote Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. I wrote that so that people could forward think where they would be attacked. It goes like this. Who would attack you? Why they would attack? Where it would happen? When it would be carried out? And how the attack would unfold. Now, that's why I wrote the book, so that you could look at yourself from the perspective of somebody or a group that is going to attack you, thinking like that. If I was going to attack myself or my business or my church or my school or my country or my city, if I was going to do that, why would I do it? What particular group or person would be motivated to do that? Where would it happen? Where are the most likely places for that to occur? And what is the most likely time that attack is going to occur? You're thinking like this from the attacker's point of view. And how would I carry it out? Once you think about that, you can kind of go back and forth, attacker, defender, and you can understand better on where this stuff is going to happen in the future, so that you have a plan of action, not a reaction and not inaction. Well, I didn't realize when I was writing that book that it could be used for political tracking as well. That you could literally be thinking like the left and identify how you would carry this out, when it would be best, where it would work. And everybody was thinking, and now that I think back and I use this technique, and everybody's thinking over the past 5 years, they're going to try to impeach Trump. They're going to try to get him out. They're going to try to use Nancy Pelosi to take over, all these different things that they talked about. While they were doing that, and it was shuffling through the news, and they're getting everybody, all the patriots, angry and all this stuff, they were sitting back quietly planning this operation, I believe, for this voter fraud. And for this year, to attack. I don't care if there was COVID or not. These riots would still have occurred. And quite frankly, the cities probably would have locked down even tighter than they did because of COVID. So I didn't realize when I wrote the book that this technique could actually be used to forward think what's happening politically, because they're attackers as well. So are these grifters. So are these leftists that portray themselves as conservatives, or conservatives who give themselves over to the grift to make money. All that can be predicted. And as I sit and as this washes over me now, I'm looking at this stuff, using this technique and thinking there, attacker, defender. I realized that what I can impart on you is 3 things. You need to unify. Now, that can be done different ways. You can have car groups like they have out here in New York. And I'm not talking about collector cars. I'm talking about where they get out and they drive around and they muster up and they get, I don't know, they have 1,000 cars out there at one point, maybe way more than that. And they had thousands of people out there, all in their cars. And it's a show of force. It's also getting people used to coming out, communicating, responding when they're called, taking action, and doing it utilizing equipment. You see where I'm going with this? In a unified fashion. And you can do that. Listen, you can have a rally. And in that rally, you can sit and talk. And you can have, don't just have tons of speakers, have a couple speakers come up there and show people this is how you do civil disobedience. This is how you set up a meeting of people. You need somebody to offer a place where people can meet and, teach people. Have small meetings we have 20 people or 30 people or 5. Discuss what's going on and come up with plans of action. Don't just, like I discuss in the book with attackers, don't just wait to be caught up in an area where you really can't mitigate the vulnerabilities, because you still have to have a plan. I remember watching the video in France when that terrorist was driving down, Islamic terrorist was driving down and mowing people over. I think it was in Nice. I think I'm saying that right. No, I don't think I'm saying that right, but it was in France. And I remember watching the video and people were running straight, like the truck's coming at them. So they run with the truck instead of running to the side. They could have taken 5 steps to the left or 5 steps to the right and they would have survived. But instead they try to, outrun the truck. They were panicking and they got ran over and killed. You cannot show up to an event and think that nothing is ever going to happen. Ariana Grande concert. I talk about this in the book, where these terrorists scoped out, which anybody knows anything about a special event, the very end is where the majority of people congregate. And they just waited where people congregate. They didn't even go inside the stadium. And then they blew a bomb up and killed a ton of people. You can forward think that stuff. Stay later. Well, this is when they had concerts, or leave early. So it's the same thing with this. I'm telling you right now, realize this. There is no hope for a political solution. It doesn't matter if President Trump pulls this off or not. It is not going to get better. Things are going to get more violent. The left does not want to unify. People on the right are so divided. The Republican Party is a complete disaster, full of rhinos and corrupt individuals who will placate and give over to people like Joe Biden and the left so that they can be protected. They really don't care. And there's no political solution. It doesn't matter. It's either going to happen right now or it's going to happen in 4 years. So you need to identify, not through ego, but you need to identify who's capable of putting these things together. Listen, I'm not good at organizing. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not good at organizing these meetings. But if somebody organizes a meeting, I am good at coming in. And when I say organize, I'm talking about getting people together. I'm talking about promoting it or getting people out there. Once the meeting is put together, my specialty is to come in and teach the people what they need to do or what they need to learn in order to protect themselves, protect their city, how to think tactically, how to move and communicate, and how to get people together to do these things. I can come and teach that. Other people can talk about civil disobedience. Other people can come up there and talk about how you protect yourself in your family in chaos, whatever. They could even have a first aid class. The left does this stuff all the time. If you realize what's happening and stop with this nonsense about whether you should vote or not vote, you go vote. Come out there with the 5 million people and stop the whole thing until they use paper ballots and count them in front of everybody. That's another thing. Why are they counting in these closed rooms? They should be counting these ballots in the middle of a stadium where everybody is watched. And like I was saying before, everybody should show up and be checked through the databases that the police use. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But it doesn't really matter now. It doesn't matter. And I'm not depressed, and I'm not saying doom and gloom. You just need to be smart, and you need to realize what's happening. There is no political solution to what's occurring. Politics is what got us into this. Lack of action by the American people is what got us into this. Hailing people as heroes is what got us into this. And not keeping people in check is what got us into this. Comfort is the nice little belt that cinches all that together. So that's where we're at. And that is why I sat here all night trying to figure out how to put this down. And finally I just said, I'm just going to turn the recorder on and just start talking. because you have to realize that's what's occurring. Now, other people may hint at this. Other people may say I'm crazy, or listen. I'm not a Q guy. For those Q people out there that are listening to this, I don't believe in a secret plan. I don't believe in what you believe in. Doesn't mean I don't think you're patriots. I just don't believe in it. But the veracity at which you attack people that don't believe in what you believe is exactly what's wrong with this nation. It's exactly what's wrong with the conservative side. That you refuse to say, okay, you believe that, I'll believe this, but we need to stand together. We need to take action. The fact that that all these people, not just Q, but all these people follow individuals because they tell them, we have it taken care of. We're going to do this. We're the hero. That is the most narcissistic, stupid crap I've ever heard. I am not going to solve anything. We are the only ones who can solve it. So with that, I'm going to leave you with this, okay? I talk about my book, Sheep No More. And this isn't just a sales pitch, okay? I wrote that book so that people could understand what I was talking about tonight. Go get that book. It's not going to break your bank. Go get it and read it. If you don't like to read, get the audio book. Listen to it. Apply it. If you buy one book and you listen, if you get through with it and you figure you know what's in it, you get it, hand it to somebody else. But get that out in circulation so that people can understand that you can see this, you can predict it. Look, if there was another book out there that taught this, I would be pushing that. But there's not. Look, there's other books out there that teach you survival techniques, but nothing's going to teach you what this shows you. So, with that being said, I'm aggravated tonight. I'm aggravated. And this, what washed over me has alarmed me. Even though I knew it, it really did hit me hard tonight as I sat there and realized it's just inevitable. We're down the slope. There's no coming back unless we stand up together. Now, I know it sounds ominous when I say that there is no hope. There is no hope for a political solution to what's occurring in this nation. There's just not. It may take another 4 years or it may take a month. But this nation is heading towards either a civil war or an oppressed society. Now, that's harsh, but it's true. But there's a silver lining there, that there is still time, and even after some of these things happen, if the citizenry becomes united and stops doing what they've been doing for the last 30 years, and they stand up with each other, and they stand together, they can take this nation back. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived. Peace, and I'm out of here.